Welcome to Odds.com's NFL Tuesday night opening line show. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the Odds.com YouTube page, Odds HQ. Babsy. Woo.
Hey, bud.
Oh, God. What happened to us, Babsy? I picked up a quick K Friday on the Breeders. Actually, most of it came a little after the Breeders, but on the day of the Breeders. And Saturday was a nice day with the horses and good day with college football. And then Sunday came around and everything went wrong, Babsy. Everything went wrong.
Yeah, literal cross-the-board meltdown. It's the worst week I've ever had. For those of you who have been listening to me, I've been saying it's time to start fading me. I hope that you did. I didn't fade myself, which I should have. And I just got kicked in the nuts repeatedly this weekend. And every single thing that happened, like even when the 1 o'clock games were done and the 4 o'clock games were done, I was like, okay, well, at least tonight I got the right call. Oh, no, that was wrong. At least there's no chance they won't hit the under on Monday, and then that was wrong. It was literally just one bed shit after another.
You went 1-8.
I went 1-8.
But I did worse, going 5-13.
I mean, it was just ugly. I mean, it almost looked like Belichick was intentionally giving up points on Monday night to keep Trevor Lawrence away from the Jets. And if you would have told me that the Saints were going to score 38 and they wouldn't cover 50.5, I'd have called you an idiot.
It was awful. Let's quickly review. We've got lots of work to do. The Thursday nighter and the 1 p.m. games will be capped right here with the great cappers in the chat. Give you guys all a shout out in a second here. We'll cap these games with you. And then for the 7 afternoon games, really 6 afternoon games, the 1 Sunday nighter and the 1 Monday nighter, we are moving exclusively to odds.com for that. And we hope that you guys come and join us. First, before we get into attack mode and give everybody a shout out, let's review what happened last week. I went 5 wins and 13 losses. I cashed the over 50 on the Thursday nighter. I was fortunate. Seattle first half -1 was a loss. Seattle full game -2.5 was a loss. Atlanta first half -2.5 was a win. Atlanta full game -3.5 was a win. Detroit, Minnesota under 52.5 was a loss. Detroit +4 was a loss. And watching that game, I was like, look, Detroit's playing well. I mean, they're moving the ball. I really thought that I could cover there. Houston first half -4 was a push. Houston full game -7 was a loss. Jacksonville team total under 20.5 was a loss. They got that late touchdown at the end of the game. Both of those, Houston full game and Jacksonville team total under, would have cashed. Washington -3 was a loss. Pittsburgh -14 was a loss. Dallas team total under 13.5 a loss. Jets +7 was a win. New England, New York Jets under 42.5 was a loss. Bears +6.5 a loss. New England, New York Jets total punts over 8.5. That went. I got -138, which is not very good. It was up to -150 and higher at some books, and -150 in my book. And that was like the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl. There was no punting. Pitt Dallas under 44 was a win. I'm fortunate to get that win. And then Jets team total under 14.5 a loss. And that moves me now to 50-53. Disgusting. Bebsy, you went 1-8. You're still plus 1.75 units. Your ROI is still plus 2.82%. You lost on the Seahawks first half and full game. That double up loss. Detroit, Minnesota under 53 was a loss. Texans first half, you got 3.5, so you cashed that when I got 4 as a push. Giants, Washington under 42 was a loss. Steelers -13.5 loss. New England, New York Jets under 42.5 loss. Cowboys team total under 13.5 loss. New Orleans, Tampa Bay over 50 loss. God awful. And, the one thing we always promise you is honesty and transparency. But that was just heartbreaking. And I don't want that to ruin the show now that I just said loss over and over again. But it makes me quite angry. A way to get out of that anger is to give you guys all a shout out. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got Mr. Fun Monk in the house. And I hear you, Mr. Fun Monk. Well put there. Well put. Nilo ready to get to work. We got Alex Ramirez, Gerald Jones, the nuke worker, proud Babylonian, David Sharp, Steel Curtin, Christian Larson saying, what's up, buds? Robert Allen saying Sunday was horrible for you, Jimmy, my man. Yes. Yes. You think yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was really horrible for me. Thank you for pointing that out. Mike in the house. We got NC ready to go. Proud Babylonian says the Saints saved my week. Birdie says, Houston, I swear, knew we were on them. Nutflush Allen, fresh from his big trip to Vegas with all the boys this weekend. Much love to you, Nutflush. Ron Walsek says, rest in peace, week 9. There's Rob T, ready to get to work. Slats 45. Ugh. Says he believes his loss is paid for the Renos at Circa. There's Lily Gunn in the house. Lily, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. All right, we got a lot of work. We got Nick Peppeard ready to go, and it is time to go. Intex says you are a great motivator. I'm angry. Fucking angry. But, hopefully it's a bounce-back situation. We sharpen up. Bebsy, do you have anything to say that might make me a little less angry? Look, my face has gone red. Do you have anything to say to get us into the show and me not so angry?
I mean, Jimmy, it's look. You can't have highs without lows. We need to. It was a humbling week. Last week was not a good week for me. This week was a very humbling week for me. So I feel like it should be for you as well. Let's bounce back. Let's go to work. Let's recover, man. We're better than this. We can't be doing that. I can't be putting up 1-8. That's not me.
That's not you.
That's not you. Let's
go.
Let's just get our shit together.
Let's go. Let's go right now. Thank you guys for rolling with us. We're going to start with the Thursday nighter. Colts at Titans, 5-3. Colts 2-2 on the road at the Tennessee Titans, 6-2, 4-1 at home. This total opened up at 50 at Bet365. It's now at 48.5, and that's across the board. Again, we're going to use Bet365 openers, and the lines that we give Bebenek will be from the licensed American books. The lines that I get will be from Bet365, and the lines that I bet. Tennessee Titans open up as 2.5-point favorites. That's moved down to 2. There are some books that are hanging a 1 right now. Colts coming off a 24-10 loss at home to the Ravens. Colts held the Ravens to punts in their first 5 possessions. They looked very good. Darius Leonard left for a chunk of that game, and that's when things fell apart for these Colts. Well, that's one part of it. The other part is the Ravens went no huddle. And when no huddle, pass control offense, Colts couldn't slow them down. Colts did hold the league's top rushing attack to its second lowest total of the season. First sub 140-yard game in 4 weeks, well below their per-game average of 178.7. Rivers did not look very good. 25 of 43 for 227 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pittman Jr. caught 4 passes for 56 yards. Zach Pascal caught 5 passes for 55 yards. And 4-time Pro Bowler T.Y. Hilton was inactive because of a groin injury, but he's looked bad all year. He's not on the injury report this week. Mo Alley Cox caught 3 passes for 55 yards, but did not participate in practice yesterday. He's listed as questionable with a knee injury. This is a huge part of this game, Mo Alley Cox, because Pro Bowl tight end Jack Doyle left late in the first half with a concussion. He's listed as doubtful to go this week. Pretty much he's not going to play. That's not 100% confirmed, but no one is expecting him to be in the lineup on the short week in the clear concussion protocol. Jordan Wilkins was again the lead running back, taking the bulk of the snaps over Jonathan Taylor. Wilkins ran 11 times for 39 yards. Taylor ran 6 times for 27 yards. Darius Leonard and linebacker Anthony Walker were injured in the second half. Leonard returned. Neither are on the injury report. Before we get into the Tennessee Titans, let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts, who I am leaning towards betting on Thursday night. And I know it's home team or no team, but I'm leaning towards backing these Colts. What did you think of their game against the Ravens, and what do you think of their chances here this weekend, Betsy?
I thought for large chunks of that game, they played well against the Ravens. I thought, aside from when Darius Leonard was out, as you mentioned, they were neutralizing that attack. I really just thought it came down to them not having the firepower to match and catch up once they fell behind. Listen, they're a team that has to run the ball and keep the ball out of Phillip Rivers' hands. I believe Dennis Garcia already said he doesn't trust Phillip Rivers, especially on a short week. Neither do I, but I don't trust him on a long week. I don't think 14 days rest or 4 days rest is much different. The guy's got an old noodle of an arm. I don't know if I put a ton of stock into that. If Leonard is healthy, I think I'm leaning Indy as well. And you have to remember, too, last week you were pretty bullish on Tennessee. You were talking about market correction and how they shouldn't have been favored that way. And I stayed off of it for the very reason that I still believe Tennessee is a good football team. To be honest with you, this could be a pick'em, and I would still struggle with it. I do see some value in Indy in this spot, but as per usual, I boycott Thursday Night Football. I'm not into it. However, I do like your lean, Jimmy. I do like where you're at. My gut tells me Indy pulls this one out.
The biggest concern, and Dennis Garcia brought it up. I just lit up Gerald Jones' comment. He brought it up as well. The biggest risk here, the biggest concern has to be Phillip Rivers. And do you want to trust him on a short week? Let's talk about the Titans here. They snapped their 2-game losing streak in a 24-17 win at home over Chicago, up 17-0 after 3 quarters. Tannehill was just 10 of 21 for 158 yards, 2 TDs, and 0 interceptions. A.J. Brown caught 4 passes for 101 yards. Again, Corey Davis, no-shows. He just no-shows 95% of the games in his career. Derrick Henry ran 21 times for 68 yards. The defense was missing 3-time Pro Bowler Jadeveon Clowney with an injured knee. They waived linebacker Vic Beasley and starting cornerback Jonathan Joseph. Now, they picked up Desmond King. He picked up a fumble, ran for 63 yards. He said all the right things this week, and he had to meet the team while he was quarantined, so he had to meet the team on an iPad, and I love the way he handled everything, and great job picking up that fumble and taking it to the house. Tennessee came in as the NFL's worst on third downs by a big margin, but stopped the Bears on their first 9 third downs. They came in allowing opponents to convert 61.8% of their third downs. They held Chicago to 2 of 15 for a 13% rate. That was easily their best of the season. Before we go further, Bebsy, is that the Titans' defense improving, or is that the Bears' offense being terrible?
I have to go with Bears' offense being terrible here. But I said to you, like, they should, like, Desmond King, I think, makes a difference in that defense. He is a very underrated player. You don't hear about him too much because he played for the Chargers. So I think it's marginally that the Tennessee defense is better, but also, man, look, this Bears offense is bad. That's not a secret. We know that. You can't put a ton of stock into a defense playing well against an offense that's terrible week in and week out. That offense is capable of making bad defenses look better. Now, I don't know if there's a ton of firepower in Indy's offense either. I mean, you can't put any stock into Phillip Rivers, especially on a short week, although I did mention I don't know if there's much of a difference. He didn't look good on 14 days rest. 4 days rest I don't think is going to make much of a difference there. So it really comes down to, can they shut down the run game and the short passing game? And your guess is as good as mine there. They don't have a great run defense to begin with. So, again, this is me leaning Indy here. I understand that it's home team or no team on Thursday nights, but, man, this is screaming Indy for me.
The Titans get no pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney's been a no-show. They waived Beasley. They sacked Foles 3 times. Let's talk about this total briefly, Bebsy. If I gave you a free $500 bet on the total, sitting at 48.5 right now, what's your move?
I mean, I expect a low-scoring game. Again, short week, and 2 teams that are really going to have to feature their run game. So, in spite of the fact that Tennessee doesn't have a strong defense, this is going to be a low-scoring affair, I believe.
I'm very concerned about backing Phillip Rivers. Very concerned about backing Phillip Rivers. And
yeah, I mean, he's we talked about this early on. It's a really tough play to back him at any time.
But I like seeing that plus money beside the Colts, and I'm leaning in that direction. I also expect to stay off the total. I find the Titans quite confusing, and it makes me want to stay off the total. And I'm likely going to stay off the total. I mean, we notice what the market has done here. By the way, Thursday is a beautiful night. Thursday night's a beautiful night in Nashville, and there is a beautiful weather, really. It gets a little cooler, but the weather is nice. Al Cervix says if Foles can put up almost 400 yards, Rivers will go off. C-Max says fade Rivers. And Charlie Tripp says don't be scared. It's an unders game. Melissa Lemmerhurt in the house says like the Colts to keep it low scoring, short week. Both teams run a ton in this spot. That is a good point. What do you think of Melissa saying that there's going to be a lot of moving the ball on the ground? And one thing we know so far about the Colts on the ground is they're not good at it. They don't run. They don't break big runs. Does this Rob T saying Foles put up stats in garbage time when the game was done? Let's just put a final bow on this. I'm leaning towards the Colts money line, and I do agree with Melissa. Is what Melissa's saying close enough to make you make a move on the under?
That's literally almost verbatim the thing I just said a minute before that. I said they're two teams that have to run the ball, and so it's going to be a run-heavy game on a short week, so it screams under to me.
Yet you're going to keep off these Thursday nighters.
Fuck Thursday night football, to be honest with you. But, I mean, that would be my play. Dennis Garcia doesn't like it, and I don't like contradicting Dennis, but to me this screams an under here.
And Christian Larson with a great stat. Derrick Henry's averaged less than 4 yards an attempt against top 5 run defenses. Okay. So no move here on the Thursday night for Bebsy. And I have some interest on the Colts money line. All right, let's move on to the 1 p.m. games, Bebsy. Again, I have not made any bets so far this week. We're going to go down the rotation numbers as we always do. So we're going to start with the Washington Football Club against the Detroit Lions. And we waited a while for Lions to come out in this game. Detroit comes out as a 3.5-point favorite. This total comes out at 46.5. The 2-6 Washington Football Club, 0-3 on the road, up against the Lions, 0-3 at home. Something's got to bend. Washington coming off 23-20 loss at home to the Giants. It was a poor bet. But if Kyle Allen didn't injure his ankle in the first quarter, I still think I'd cash. Alex Smith wasn't awful, but Allen will undergo surgery to repair his dislocated fractured ankle, won't return this season. And if anyone's wondering if Haskins is going to be in behind center, he will not be. Alex Smith is now the starter. He was 24-32, 325 yards, 1 TD, 3 interceptions. McLaren caught 7 passes for 115 yards, 1 TD. Cam Sims comes out of nowhere, 3 catches for 110 yards. Sims came into the league with a total of 88 yards receiving in his first 15 NFL games. They could get nothing going on the ground. Gibson rushed 6 times for 20 yards. McIsaac ran 3 times for 17 yards. Wide receiver Dontrell Inman and offensive tackle John Washington are questionable. From the Lions side of things, they're coming off an ugly 34-20 loss in Minnesota. The Lions haven't beaten an NFC North team since December 30th, 2018. At least they won't have to worry about that here. Patricia, 0-5 against the Vikings, 2-13 in NFC North games, 9 straight division losses. Stafford, 23-32 for 211 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. He left Sunday's game in the fourth quarter with a concussion. There was an evaluation. He was cleared. Amendola sighting, 7 catches for 77 yards. After a couple rough games, DeAndre Swift sighting as well. Looked much better. Ran 13 times for 64 yards. The Lions are allowing 148 yards rushing per game. They were torched by Dalvin Cook for 206 yards. Matt Prater also 6 of 12 on field goals from beyond 40. Kenny Golladay, so important to this team, remains questionable, as the safety Tracy Walker, guard Joe Dahl, and running back Jamal Agnew. Jeff Okudah hurt his ankle against the Vikings, questionable for the week. The Lions just put cornerback Tony McRae on injured reserve. McRae hurt his right knee while blocking during a punt return. They also activated linebacker Jared Davis from the reserve COVID-19 list. Bebsy, take it away. I wish I could get a 3 is my initial feeling on the Lions. Is 3.5 enough? It might be.
I mean, I'm kind of with you on that one. This is a tough spot because do we know who's even starting at quarterback right now for Washington?
Yeah, confirmed. Alex Smith is their starter this week.
Oof. I mean, I got love for Alex Smith, but 3 picks against a team that doesn't get a lot of picks. That's just, and also Jay-Z just mentioned, what's the story on Stafford? Is he going to play? I realize that he was cleared and didn't have a concussion, but I mean, he seems like he's all sorts of banged up. It was the COVID, then he didn't have the COVID. He was just near somebody with COVID, and there's a ton of uncertainty for me in this game, piled with injuries, piled with, who's starting quarterback with what. I understand why this line took a while to come out. So for me, there's no play here. There's no value in this. I don't know enough about who is playing football for either team right now.
I can understand waiting on this, and I can't do anything anyways. It's off the board still at Bet365. Dale S says pass. Not Flush Allen. I mean, how well do we know Alex Smith, Pepsi? I mean, come on. I mean,
years and years of watching Alex check down in San Francisco. So, man, I got love for Alex Smith. There's few guys who have overcome what he has in his career, and I'm not even talking about the nearly dying from a broken leg and infection. I mean, this guy started his NFL career with an old Larry Allen as his best O-lineman and Arnaz Battle as his number 1 receiver. This guy has been through it. He's a soldier. I love him, but I mean, we've seen him out there, and man, it's amazing that he's out there, but he's not the player he was. He can't be.
Well, I want the Lions. I want the Lions here. I don't love it. I don't love the 3.5, and I can't move on it anyways right now. So this will be a wait situation. But I like the fact that DeAndre Swift had a good game. Get that kid a little bit of confidence.
Sure, and I think it's time to, maybe give him some more touches. Again, I'm against burning out young running backs when it's a futile gesture, but at the same time, this guy's got to start. They got to figure out what they have with him as well. But yeah, you don't want to start giving him too many touches in a game because, like I said, you don't want to burn a guy out when you're not going to do anything.
I also think that the under's in play. I think Alex Smith was a little out of control, and I hadn't seen him like that. And I can understand why he was out of control. And I think now that he gets a full week to think about the fact that he's starting, I think he goes back to being the check down king and plays a clean game. If he does play a clean game, I think the Lions cash. I also think that Washington team total unders in play. What do you think of that?
What was the Washington team total unders?
We don't have it yet. But you can predict it here. If it's 46 is the total, and the Lions are 3-point favorites, so the expectation is, like a 24-21 is the way I would be saying 24-21 win for these.
So 20 and a half?
I would say 21.5 or 21.
Yeah, I could understand why that would be in play.
Do you trust the Lions defense enough to take a Washington team total under?
It's not so much that I trust their defense, and especially with Okuda out. I realize he's a rookie, but he's an exceptionally talented rookie. It's just more. It's more of a lack of trust in Washington's offense than a trust in Detroit's defense. But I mean, these are two trash teams that there's on top of not being very good teams. They're there's so much uncertainty with who is playing. And are we sure that Alex Smith even finishes this game? So I don't know. For me, it's a total pass, top to bottom in this one.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not going to force it, especially with it being off the table right now. Dennis Garcia says, I agree, Jimmy, but if he plays a clean game, I really like Washington and the under. I like Washington and the under. I also think that if we expect Alex Smith, the check down king, to play a clean game, then the first half under has to be the best spot rather than the full game under when he's just possibly behind and throwing the ball to catch up. Okay, that's Washington, Detroit Lions here. Not on the board yet, but and it scares me that this will come down to a field goal, but I certainly lean towards the Lions at 3.5, especially after that poorly played game against the Vikings when they had momentum that kept getting stalled, and they looked better than that loss indicated. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to this Texans, Cleveland Browns. Houston Texans, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland 3-point favorites, and I think this needs to be bet tonight. And this was probably a bet. If I wasn't so caught up in college football and trying to get my action in college football on Mondays, I'd already probably be on the Browns. Texans coming off 27-25 win at Jacksonville. Texans 2-6, 1-3 on the road. At the Cleveland Browns 5-3, 3-1 at home. Deshaun Watson 19-32, 281 yards, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions. He's been playing very well, and we all believe in this guy. He's thrown 8 touchdown passes with no interceptions in the past 3 games. He's looked very good. Will Fuller caught 5 passes for 100 yards. Brandon Cooks 3 passes for 83 yards. The Texans are ranked 31st in the NFL, averaging just 87.6 yards rushing a game. They had 107 yards rushing against the Jaguars, but that didn't really tell the whole story. Running backs 57 yards. Watson scrambling was the rest of that. They still can't move the ball on the ground, and they're easy to defend against because of that. Top cornerback Bradley Roby, he didn't make the trip to Jacksonville this weekend for undisclosed reason. That's really important to find out what the hell is going on. I don't know if anybody knows what the hell is going on, but they say it's not an injury and it's not COVID-19 related, and Crennel expects him to return this week. Linebacker Brendan Scarlett fractured a forearm on Sunday, and he's probably not going to return this season. David Johnson, their running back, and guard Clemente, both sustained concussions on Sunday. They'll likely miss this game. I know David Johnson's been bad, but you take your starting running back off of a bad rushing attack, it's just going to get worse. Linebacker Jacob Martin missed the game after testing positive for COVID-19 last week. He's likely to miss this game as well. And they had Whitney Merciless, Dylan Cole. They are expected to return this week. They had to sit out against the Jags after contract tracing found they'd been close with Jacob Martin. Offensive lineman Max Sharping is also expected to return to the facility this week after testing positive for coronavirus 2 weeks ago, and he could replace the injured guard against the Browns. Let's start with the Texans. I don't know why I'm not on them already at -3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I'm not putting a ton of stock into last week's game. Losing your whole set of linebackers before a game hurts. But then again, on the other side of the ball, Jacksonville was missing just about everyone as well. Look, this Houston team is not very good. They're devoid of a lot of talent. They have no picks. Look, it's the Bill O'Brien effect. You lost important pieces. You lost more important draft picks. And you're left with an empty cupboard and a team trying to put the pieces back together. I feel sorry for Romeo Crennel, who has to be the guy to do this. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but I love the Brownies in this spot. They are coming back off a bye. They may or may not be getting Chubb back. But again, this rushing game has worked without Chubb. Chubb is obviously a superior running back to Hunt. But Hunt's getting it done. This is a good running attack. They'll be able to control the ball. And like you said, losing David Johnson, he's not the greatest running back in the league anymore. He never was, but he was very good for a while. He's not the same guy, but losing him still hurts an already soft rushing attack. To me, this does not stay at 3. It's going to go up. The time to bet them is now.
So the concern, and I get it, and this is just messing with all of us, is that Baker's on this COVID-19 list, but
yeah, okay. And if Baker plays or doesn't play, I don't know if that's a huge factor.
We'll get a better line.
Yes. Oh, so you're saying hold off and find out if he's officially
you hold off until it's 3.5. That's what's going to happen. I mean, if you look at this, it's a not even a guy on it. They haven't identified it, but it doesn't even sound like it's a player. It's a staff member. It's a staff member. All right, let's talk about the Browns a little more. Coming off their bye week, last team that 16-6 loss at home to the Raiders. The wind was strong. The weather was a mix of rain and snow. Vegas just beat them up. 208 yards rushing. They had the ball for 38 minutes. Myles Garrett hurt his knee. This MRI has revealed no structural damage. He's expected to be good to go this week. They were without starting right guard Wyatt Teller. So Teller missed his 3rd straight game with a calf injury, but Mayfield wasn't sacked for the 2nd game in a row. Mayfield's only been sacked 11 times in 2020. Wyatt Teller remains questionable. They're hoping that he's back this week. Mayfield was just 12 of 25 for 122 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jarvis Landry had a couple drops that were pretty shocking. Olivier Vernon got his first 2 sacks of 2020. That'd be a nice little addition for this club. Nick Chubb is expected to return. He will play this week. That's what everyone's saying. He will play this week. Stefanski feels really good about that. He also feels really good that Austin Hooper will be back. So Hooper is going to be back for sure, and Nick Chubb is expected to be back. Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle, is still in concussion protocol. Linebacker Jacob Phillips remains questionable. So at this point, God, COVID is just throwing us
to be honest with you, I don't think if Baker's out, if Case Keenum comes in, I don't think that's a huge drop-off. Case Keenum has proved that he can, he's played well in Stefanski's system in Minnesota. And really all he's got to do is pass the ball or hand the ball off. So for me, I really like the Browns in this spot regardless of Mayfield.
Yes, but I'd like to get. So we're sitting at -3. If Mayfield's not in, that's got to go down to -1.5.
Okay, but if he is in, it goes up.
Yeah, I guess the bet has to be made now. I guess. Nutflush Allen is saying over. Nice enough weather in Cleveland. We'll go over that. What do you think of this total? This total opened up at 54.5 and is down to 53.
Yeah, I think I'm with Nutflush Allen on this one. I do like this over because if there's anything Watson can do, it's throw up some garbage time points. They still have some big playability with Fuller. So, yeah, I like this over. I'm not going to bet it, but that's where I would lean. I am going to bet Cleveland at -3, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get and I'm going to bet it too. But my expectation, I'll make it a full unit play for our record purposes. But I probably will only bet half the money at this point, and then add another half a unit. So my NFL unit is $200. So I'll probably only go for 100 when I bet this. Let's go to odds.com right now and get you the best line we can get. All right. Here we go. The best line I can give you right now for these Browns is wow. That's already moved to 3.5 at a couple books. Jesus, got to get on this now. The best 3 I can give you is -115 at BetMGM. You want it?
Yes, sir.
Bebsy's on the board, -3, -115 at BetMGM. This also feels, and I know we're coming off a bad week, but it feels like when we get all the information, this is probably a bigger bet than 1 unit. I think Cleveland coming off a bye, getting Chubb back. This offensive line has been so strong. This Texans team has no pass rush. And then you're going to get Wyatt Teller back as well, probably. It just seems like this has got to be the bet. Got to be the bet. Okay, so let's lock that in for Bebsy. I'm going to be coming along as well. But I certainly can't double up or do anything massive until we get a little more
bullish on this right now. Obviously there's more to learn about who's coming back and who's playing quarterback, but this I feel like this is just going to go up.
Yeah, there you go. Bebsy's moved -3, -115 BetMGM on the Browns. I'm going to come with them, and the more information we get throughout the week, the more money I'm going to bet on this game. But I'm going to start out pretty small. All right, let's move on to Jaguars, Packers. Jacksonville, Green Bay. Green Bay opening up at -13.5. That's gone to 14 at the leading indicator books, although that 14 is at plus money. 14 is at plus money. This total opened up at 53.5. It's now down to 52. The 1-7 Jags at the 6-2 Packers. Jaguars coming off their 7th straight loss, 27-25 at home to the Texans. They escaped becoming the first team in NFL history to allow at least 30 points in 7 straight games. Luton played well, and it was I had a really rough Sunday, and you guys know how capping works. It's such a cruel mistress, and I was feeling great. That was the problem. I came into that Sunday morning just feeling so good. I mean, I was hungover, but I was feeling so good. I had this great Breeders' Cup, and it wasn't that I made that much money. We did well, but I had so much fun, and I came in feeling good about my action, and then I just got, slapped in the twat. Luton played well, 26-38 for 304 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. He also had a fumble that was recovered by a teammate. Gardner Minshew still unable to throw. Maroney saying Luton will start next week at Green Bay and could be starting for the next few weeks. James Robinson finally ran okay, 25 times for 99 yards. DJ Shark caught 7 passes for 146 yards. Chanot hamstring left in the first half, was ruled out at the break. He's questionable to continue. And defensive lineman Doug Costin evaluated for concussion. They're both questionable right now. Packers are on extra rest after their easy 34-17 win at San Francisco on Thursday night. Still, look, we all know who's the better football team, but I'm hesitant to move here on the Packers.
It's a lot of points.
It is. It's a lot of points. Rodgers was dominant. He looked great. 25 times for 31 yards, 4 TDs, 0 interceptions. Devontae Adams catching passes all over the field. 10 receptions for 173 yards, 1 TD. Rodgers' TD pass to Adams gave the Packers an opening drive score for the 8th straight game to open the season. The only other team to do that was since 2000. The only other team to do that since 2000 was the Patriots in 2007. 4 TDs, 4 field goals in those opening drives. League best 40 points of those opening drives. Aaron Jones comes back after missing 2 games with a calf injury. Immediate impact. He first 4 plays he gained 37 yards on. He finished with 15 carries for 58 yards, but he set a nice tone. 5 catches for 21 yards. Cornerback Jair Alexander concussion. Tackle Rick Wagner knee. Linebacker Chris Barnes calf. Running back Dexter Williams knee. All left the game and didn't return. Barnes and Williams are good to go, but Alexander's still in concussion protocol. Wagner remains questionable. Safeties Vernon Scott, Will Redmond, and cornerback Kevin King, and offensive tackle David Bakhtiari all remain questionable. How are you handling this spot, Bebsy? Jacksonville, Green Bay.
Well, I mean, this looks all too much like the Steelers versus Dallas this past weekend. And, I initially I was off it, and then the chat was screaming at me, the Dallas is terrible, the Steelers are great, and I believed it. I was like, yes, you're absolutely right. What am I doing? I'm overthinking this. And then it turns out my gut was right. It was just a team that's astronomically better than the other, and just came in not psyched up enough for this game. Just knowing that you can crush the other team really takes a little bit of wind out of your own sails. So this feels the same to me. This feels like, at 14 points or 14 and a half, I think in some books, the Green Bay knows that they should absolutely stroll in and kick the shit out of the Jags. But the Jags have proven to be able to cover this year. They've proven to be able to even beat the odd good team. I don't think they're going to win here. I just think this is too many points. And if there is a play, I think there's value in Jacksonville here.
I don't disagree. There's just no way I'm going to be sitting here on Sunday with money on Jacksonville. Just no way. But I agree. This to me just screams just stay away. There's lots of spots on this card that are enticing and appealing.
And I also, I see some people in the chat bringing up first half for Steelers or for Green Bay, but I don't even know if that's a play because if they come out much like the Steelers did last week, the first half wouldn't have covered anyways. They were losing at the half, I think. It's the same kind of thing. Like if you don't come in ready to play, this is still an NFL team on the other side of the ball, and the first half isn't in play if you don't think the full game is in play. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
I agree. I also think a 34-17 final gets you the under. So I do understand why this total has gone from 53.5 to 52. I do also love being on unders when the Packers are way ahead. And look, I got lucky on the over on Thursday night. But Mullins and the Niners and Shanahan's offense. Now Luton's you know what? This is the spot to me where you get that young quarterback, gets his first game in, plays great, throws for 300 yards, and then the NFL slaps him in the mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see anytime you even get a little tape on some of these guys, or you start believing you're as good as that game was, and you're not quite as sharp, you're not quite as focused, you believe in your own bullshit. I mean, hey, look at me. Look at how hot I started, and I just ran into a 1-8 week. So, yeah, I like where your head's at there with Jimmy. I think this could be a real smack in the mouth for our boy Luton.
Well, let's just take a – so I think the under is in play, and even if it was a high-scoring first half, I think that the under would still be in play because Rodgers would just be very comfortable, very relaxed. They'd run the ball. They have 3 running backs that can do the job that are all healthy right now. Let's just take a quick look and see what this team total is for the Jags. Fresh off of losing my team total for the Jags, it's at 19.5. It was at 20.5 against the Texans with the Jaguars at home. And now you're telling me I'll get 19.5? This is a bet I'm making tonight. Okay, I'm gonna take the Jags team total under 19.5. I'm gonna fade Luton again. And all respect to Luton for taking money out of my family's mouth, but I'm gonna go after him again.
They took money out of your family's mouth. You shouldn't eat money, man. That's dirty.
Oh, we washed that. Shit.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna definitely take the Jaguars team total under now, and I may take the full game under, but no need to rush into that. Okay. Let's go. Jimmy Stain saying the books will continue to beat the public bettors. This is the time of year when they do that. Robert Cherry says Packers coming off of back-to-back. However, I see Rodgers and Packers in spot. What do you mean coming off back-to-back losses? Maybe I'm tripped out, but all right. I love the Jags team total under 19.5. Let's move on to our next spot. Again, we're going to break down all the 1 p.m. games here live with you guys on YouTube. And then for the afternoon games, we're moving over to odds.com, and we really hope that you guys join us. Jimmy Stain looking at Ohio second half -9. I'm not looking at the action because I don't want it to take away my thought process, and I need to win this week. We move on to Eagles, Giants, and I was on Washington last week, but DJ showed me something in this last game. And when Bruce Arians took a shot at him after that Bucs game, just saying he was a young quarterback trying to do too much, I could just tell that he thought about it over and over and over again. And Arians helped him mature with that critical analysis. And I want to talk this game out badly because Eagles coming off a bye and coming off a real underwhelming performance. The Giants have looked good 2 weeks in a row. And I know they were up 20-3 and they let a bad offense back in the game. So it's not like I'm bullish right now over the Giants, but I certainly wanted to talk this game out. And at this point, the Giants are no longer at plus 3.5. Damn it. They've moved to 3. That's upsetting. It was all 3.5 when I was capping it today, and I probably, if I wanted, I probably should have pulled the trigger, but I didn't want to talk this game out. So let's talk it out right now. Eagles, Giants. This total opened up at 42. It's up to 44.5. Eagles 3-4-1, 1-2 on the road. Giants 2-7, 1-3 at home. Eagles come in off their bye week. We last saw them in that DiNucci 23-9 underwhelming victory against the Cowboys. It was their second straight victory. Carson Wentz looked terrible. 15-27, 123 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. And we just talked about how DJ thought all week about what Arians said and played clean football, which is what I expect Alex Smith to do for Washington, is play clean football. And I expect Carson Wentz to do that here. I expect him to play clean football and not – he's been trashed everywhere for the 2 interceptions and the 2 fumbles. Fulgham caught 6 passes for 78 yards, 1 TD. No other receiver caught over 16 yards. Boston Scott ran for a career-best 70 yards on 15 carries. Cornerback Darius Slay, ankle. Defensive tackle Malik Jackson, quad, left in the third quarter. They're both listed as questionable. Sumalo, their guard, was designated to return from injured reserve yesterday. He may be back in the lineup, and they need him. Offensive tackles Lane Johnson and Jack Driscoll remain questionable. Cornerback Cravon LeBlanc, sorry, always go French. And Craig James, questionable. Wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey and running back Miles Sanders all remain questionable. What are your expectations of the Eagles before we get into the Giants?
Again, I've said it all year. It really depends on what Wentz shows up. We've seen Wentz play phenomenal, and then we've seen him play like absolute trash. So I just don't know which one shows up. He played terrible his last outing. He's had a bye week to think about it. I agree with you, Jimmy. I think he plays a little more conservative. He's going to be better at protecting the ball this week. But there's also a part of me that wonders if he's had too much time to think about that bad performance. And, he comes out and I don't think we're going to see MVP caliber Wentz this week. I really don't. I do agree with you in the sense that he will be more likely to protect the ball, but to me it feels like the Giants are at least getting it together on defense. There's still a ton of questions around Daniel Jones. Yes, you're right. He listened to what Bruce Arians said. He protected the ball better. He played better football. But to me, it's this Giants defense that's finally kind of getting an identity, and it's making this team competitive at least. Whereas, for years they've been trash. It's been 3 years in a row where they've just been in the absolute basement, doghouse, terrible. But those draft picks on the defense are starting to come together, and then there's a few bright spots here and there on offense. I'd really like to see them with Saquon now as opposed to Saquon at the start of the year when it was just 8 in the box, shut him down, and then he tears his ACL. But to me, the value here is the Giants with the points. There is, I think, zero value in betting Philly. So my lean is fairly heavy on the Giants.
So there's some idea that the public might be on the Eagles, but I don't see how that's going to happen. We've all watched the Giants play well against the Bucs, and maybe the 38-3 loss to the Saints took a little luster off of that. But we haven't seen the Eagles in 2 weeks, and last we saw them, they look bad. So I think the public will be on the Giants. And that's probably what's giving me pause. And clearly that's what the public has done so far is back the Giants, bringing this from 3.5 down to 3. I guess I'm going to hold off. This is the kind of situation that scares the shit out of me. Eagles coming off a bye. Eagles have looked bad. If I told you, Bebsy, that Lane Johnson is back and now Wentz gets to throw to Alshon Jeffrey and hand the ball off to Miles Sanders, do you still like the Giants at +3?
Yeah, I do. I like the way the Giants are progressing as a team. The Eagles seem to be up and down, whereas I do really think we're starting to see the Giants clawing themselves out of that cellar that they've been in for years. And again, it starts with their defense. Look, I love Philly's front seven. Not necessarily the front seven. I love their front four. I love that defensive line of Philly. And I know that's the problem. That's my biggest hang up. I would be taking the Giants right now if it weren't for Daniel Jones's propensity to fumble the ball when he's under pressure or throw the ball when he's under pressure. Look, this Philadelphia defensive line can generate a ton of pressure. Obviously, Sanders and Lane Johnson are huge for them, but Lane Johnson's been in and out and in and out. I believe even if he is playing, he's still playing hurt. And so a lot of it comes down to, really how Wentz handles it, how Wentz handles pressure. And, sometimes he's got great escapability and he looks fantastic, and sometimes he looks like absolute garbage. So there's my uncertainty with it on both sides of the ball. And yeah, again, the only reason I'm not on the Giants in this spot is because of Daniel Jones and not handling that defensive front of Philadelphia, which is super underrated just because of how bad the rest of the team has been.
Well, I'm going to wait. This was one of the spots that I wasn't going to wait on. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to get some more information, especially on the Eagles side of things. And so, interesting. I came into this show thinking that why didn't I already get on the Giants? And Alvin Smith saying Philly spot. And all right, this is going to be a stay off. Very quickly, Bebsy, what do you think of this total here? I guess we shouldn't even really talk about it until we know if the playmakers are back. But my expectation, seeing this total open up at 42, move up to 44.5, is some sharp bettors knowing that the playmakers are going to be back for the Eagles and taking the over. What do you think, Bebsy? Sitting at 40.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. Look, getting Jeffrey and Sanders back is huge. Really, those, especially Sanders, because he just opens up so much for them. He's a very talented running back, but he also helps them out big time in the passing game. So he opens up so much. And look, they haven't had much of Alshon Jeffrey at all this year, and he's not a top tier receiver, but he's an excellent receiver. So yeah, he opens things up as well. So I get it. I get why this is going up, and I get why the Sharps would be on that early.
And I didn't even break down the Giants. I just broke down the Eagles and then handed it over to Bebsy. But let's just quickly just finish off on the Giants here. Coming up 23-20 win on the road at Washington. Their defense forced 5 turnovers. And Daniel Jones completed the game without a turnover, and they win 23-20. One of the things, if I had known that Golden Tate would be benched for what he said to the cameras after that touchdown grab against the Buccaneers, I probably would have immediately hedged and taken the Giants. Jimmy Stain already stated in the chat that these guys look like they like playing for Judge. And for whatever reason, there's times when I don't respect a move like that. but I like that. This is a team that's losing and losing and losing, and he's coming in saying, you're a team player or you're not on the field. And if I had known that the Giants were up 20-3 at the half, it was a real – look, my hands just start leaking. It was a real mistake after Judge made that decision for me not to immediately bet the Giants, at least first half. The Giants were without Devonta Freeman because of an ankle injury, but that didn't stop them from running the ball. Gallman, 14 carries for 68 yards. Alfred Morris, 9 carries for 67 yards. Freeman remains questionable, as does tight end Keaton Smith, who's in concussion protocol. So this game's going to obviously take some more time here. And the fact that Wentz is being destroyed for his picks and his turnovers, I think he's going to play a straighter game. And I think that DJ's listening to the public, supporting how he played a clean game. So I know I just got destroyed on this bet this past weekend, but this feels like even if the game goes over, I think there's going to be punts. So we'll make some decisions here.
You gonna bet on the punts prop?
I just feel like they're both going to play clean.
Hey, did your punts prop hit, by the way? I forget.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. Let's just move on to the next game. Buccaneers, Panthers. Buccaneers, Panthers. Bucs open up at 6.5 at Bet365. That's all the way down to 4.5. This total opens up at 48. It's all the way down. It's moved up to 50.5. This is a tricky spot. Buccaneers 6-3, 3-2 on the road. Carolina Panthers 3-6, 1-3 home. Bucs are coming off a disastrous performance. Sunday night's 38-3 home loss to the Saints. And you guys, this is going to be the last game that we break down here live on YouTube. I'll put the link where we're going right after this. I'll drop it in the chat. But we are moving over to odds.com for the rest of the show. And we really hope that you guys join us. But let's break down this final game. Buccaneers, Panthers. The Bucs were down 31-0 at the half. Brady 22-38 for 209 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Mike Evans led the receivers with 4 catches for 64 yards. Godwin comes back, 3 receptions for 41 yards. He only missed 1 game with a broken finger. Antonio Brown makes his Bucs debut, 3 catches for 31 yards. As a team, they rushed the ball 5 times for 8 yards, and that included Gabbert's kneel down for the final play of the game. The defense entered the game ranked number 1 against the run, 3rd overall. The Saints scored on 5 of their first 6 possessions. It should have been 6 of 6. Jared Cooks fumbled the Bucs too, preventing them from going 6 for 6. Saints finished with 420 yards total, 138 rushing. Backup quarterback Taysom Hill, 54 yards on 7 carries, completed 2 passes for 48 yards. And they're a pretty healthy group. Levante David left the game with a hyperextended knee. He's listed as questionable. And guard Ali Marpet also listed as questionable. I think that the Bucs are going to bounce back. But what does that really mean against the Panthers team that's lost 4 straight and just played so well against the Chiefs? Well, first off, it means that you're going to get a better line than the opening line. Because everybody just saw McCaffrey look spectacular. So it opens up at 6.5, quickly comes to 4.5. That's one thing we are certain of. McCaffrey, 18 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown, caught 10 passes for 82 yards and another score. Dennis Garcia was on Teddy covers. And by the way, while I got destroyed last week, Dennis Garcia had another great week. He was on the Cowboys, and he just called that so brilliantly and so comfortably. The Panthers were 4 for 4 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They are 8 of 9 this year in the red zone getting touchdowns with McCaffrey on the field. They're 10 of 21 without him. This guy is dynamic. Bridgewater, 36 of 49, 310 yards, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions. Curtis Samuel led the receiving corps with 9 catches for 105 yards. Left tackle Russell Okung, calf injury. Safety Jeremy Chin, knee injury. They were both inactive. They remain questionable. And then here's the thing about the Panthers situation with Matt Rule's got to deal with, Bebsy, is McCaffrey's hurt now. And, you know, in all honesty, I see this as but I see this as a lost season for the Panthers. I do not think they're going to make the playoffs. You have McCaffrey out 6 weeks with an ankle injury. Then he comes back, and they said it was a rib injury. It turns out it's a shoulder injury. He's listed as questionable. I mean, I maybe this is dumb, but do you even play him on Sunday? Let him get back to healthy. This Panthers team's not going to make the playoffs.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's out. If they haven't ruled him out yet, which
they couldn't have. It wouldn't be 4.5 if they had to rule him out.
Well, yeah, I don't think you can play him. And I don't know, like, lost season? I mean, this is a team that started the season, in the basement. They had a new coach. They had just lost Luke Kuechly. This team was not expected to do much. They have fought tooth and nail in so many of these games and been impressive. They lost McCaffrey and won their following 2 games.
I don't mean lost season from a development standpoint. I mean from making the playoff standpoint.
Yes and no. I mean that the NFC, that wild card is still the extra wild card is still very much in play. So. Yeah, I think you have to rest McCaffrey. Of course, you don't. The guy's so important, and like I said, losing him allowed them to open up the offense a little more and not focus everything on McCaffrey. And getting him back just means you get that weapon now with your opened up offense. For me, this game is Carolina or no play. And the reason my apprehension towards that is Tom Brady has been awful 2 weeks in a row. I doubt Tom Brady is awful 3 weeks in a row. However, he's been the problem. He was atrocious on Monday night. He was missing guys left, right, and center, sailing passes as he was against the Giants. He got bailed out against the Giants, but he has been looking bad. I'm sorry, Brady lovers, but he's 43 and he's not as good. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of people making AB comments on Twitter in the chat right now. I don't know if he's gotten in there and already ruined that locker room. I don't
That's too fast, man.
Too quick. He's been quiet, and Bruce Arians basically said, toe the line or he's gone. So I think he's probably on his best behavior. But I mean, look, even guys who adore Tom Brady, and I know I take shots at him. It's mostly tongue in cheek. He has looked. Look, in Texas, saying it. Tom Brady looks like a deer in headlights. He looks lost out there. The last 2 weeks he has looked horrendous. But it's Tom Brady. How do you bet against him? He's bounced back from bad performances in the past. So that's why this is a tough spot for me, because everything is screaming bet the Panthers because of just how bad the Bucs have looked. But look, the root of their problem is Tom Brady right now. And if there's anybody who can bounce back and be phenomenal after being trashed for 2 weeks, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with Jimmy Stain. I agree with Melissa. I think that I agree with Dutch Boy Fresh. I think this is a must-back Buccaneers spot. A must-back Buccaneers spot. And I don't think we should be sitting here sure that McCaffrey's going to be out on Sunday. I think that's a mistake. The market wouldn't be moving to 4.5 if McCaffrey was going to be out. So I don't think we should do that.
I mean, how do you have Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski and not be able to hit anybody in the end zone?
Oh, it's just wild. I was off that game, so I wasn't pulling out the belt and needle. But
well, I was livid at that game because I wanted that over, and the Saints did their part.
Yeah. This to me is I'm still hesitant to put words out of my mouth.
I don't know how you confidently back Tampa with the way Tom has been playing versus the way Bridgewater's played. If you ask me right now, who would I rather have on my team, Tom Brady or Teddy Bridgewater? It's Teddy Bridgewater.
I mean,
Alex Ramirez, they didn't have a bad night. Tom had an atrocious night.
Look, we know enough about the guy. You know, we know he open mouth kisses his son for 10 seconds and wins Super Bowls.
Way too long.
So I don't know what trumps the other, but I think he's going to win on Sunday. And I think the first half is the play. Even so, I think the first quarter might be the play. I hate first quarter bets because, you need to win the toss. But if, we see a lot of coaches deferred. With the way Tom's playing, if Arians wins the toss, he's going to go for it. Al Cervix says he wears Uggs. Is that facts, Bebsy?
He does wear Uggs. That's a fact.
I'm not going to – how am I supposed to make the bet if I know that information? Whew. All right.
Yeah, no, Jay-Z, that's what I'm saying is you don't expect Tom to have 3 bad games in a row, ever. That's just it. Tom Brady has been incredible most of his career, and anytime he has a bad game, you really expect him to have a great game the next time. 2 bad games in a row, then yeah. But, I mean, look, the Tom Brady apologists are out in full force here saying the whole team had a bad game. What? Tom put them in that spot by missing his targets by 10 yards. He looked like Nate Peterman on Monday night.
I miss Nathan Peterman. Okay, I'm going to make a move on the Bucs. And I'm going to make a move on the Bucs early. And maybe that's the only move I make. Is just on them early. I hate first quarters. It's just so. I think it's pretty stupid to make a bet where a coin flip has such a big part of it, but it's a -0.5. They got to bounce back here. Okay, I'm gonna move on, and I don't want to. I'm not gonna triple up on this game, and it wouldn't surprise. Maybe you triple up if you're certain McCaffrey's not in lineup. Okay, here are 2 spots I'm moving on: first quarter, first half, and yes, I'll be sweating buckets at the coin toss. I think they come out early, and Antonio Brown is a little more comfortable, and Godwin's a little more comfortable. All right.
Look, my gut says Tom has a better week this week, but with his age, I wonder if he can bounce back and have a better week, but he just looks dejected right now.
Oh, he's not dejected. They're 6-3. He loves it when people are calling him out. Not when they're calling him out about kissing his son and, throwing his child off of a waterfall, but he likes it when they call him out on football. And that's what
he loved it. He looked sour in the post-game press conference.
He's angry. Yeah, he's angry.
He didn't take any ownership for that loss.
Look, that's been a little disturbing. But what do we know about the man? He's a winner. He's a winner.
Yeah, and you know what? You should look, if you have the resume Tom Brady does and your ego is still so fragile that you can't own that loss, you put that on your whole team, that's brutal. Be a leader. Be Tom Brady.
He hasn't really been doing that this year.
Terrible tonight.
It was when he pretended that he knew it was 4th down. That was the spot earlier in the year that bothered me the most, and not this past spot. I mean, okay.
That's another thing. That's like, own it, man. Own your failures. You've had enough successes that you got to be able to own your failures.
Look, I agree, but I think this is a great spot to back them, even if McCaffrey's in. I can't triple up at this point, but I would like to take them early. First quarter, first half, and I'd also be interested in team totals. And I know we can't spend too long on this early, and we're not even halfway through the games yet, but let's just quickly go back to the full game total here. This full game total is at 50.5. And I think this goes over. What do you think of this total here?
Yeah, that screams over. However, so did Monday night. Monday night should have been an over, but the Bucs didn't do their part.
The difference in that spot, and I'm not saying that, like, I can understand, and I forget how Dennis worded it. Dennis worded it perfectly. It could go over by accident, kind of. I think that's what he said. But in that New Orleans Tampa game, that total opened up at 54, and it went all the way down to 50 at one point. So there was some idea. This is different. This total is opened up at 48 and a half, moved up to 50 and a half. I think the betting public is making this a little different. And as much as we want to fade the public, that's what was happening there. Was the very sharp bettors were coming in and betting the under and succeeding because of it, knowing that the public was going to be on the over, and that's why that total dropped so low. It dropped to a point where they knew gamblers were going to be all over it, and that's how the books are, winning, year after year. I mean, it helps getting the juice. Okay, I think the over is in play, but in saying that, I don't see why I wouldn't just forget about the Panthers and only take the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers team total is at 27.5. And remember, the only thing that the Bucs do well defensive, I should say, but they stop the run. Okay, so Buccaneers first quarter, first half, team total over 27.5 is for me right now. All right, Bebsy, no move for you.
No, sir. Slow out the gates this week.
Okay, let's talk about 1 p.m. best bets right now, and obviously we're gun shy after what happened last week. Bebsy, you are on the Browns -3 at -115 at MGM, and that's your only spot on the card so far. So that's your best bet.
It kind of has to be, doesn't it?
And then I think the Buccaneers first half, but I do really like that Jaguars team total. I think the Buccaneers first half, what's that right now? -3 is the spot. Okay, so Mr. Funmonks says Carolina played solid without McCaffrey all year. They did.
Yeah, absolutely. That it was kind of a blessing in disguise in that it opened up that offense a bit because it stopped being the Christian McCaffrey show and it started being the Carolina Panthers offense.
Okay, we are moving now. Within less than 5 minutes, we will be over at odds.com. That's where you can exclusively watch us for the rest of the show. And please join us. But thank you guys so much for rolling with us here live on YouTube. We have no show without you guys. It means so much to us that you roll with us. But we are now moving over to odds.com. I put the link in the chat. Jump over, roll with us. We have 8 games still to cap, 6 afternoon games, the Sunday nighter and the Monday nighter. Let's get over there and get paid. Bebsy only with 1 move so far. I expect he's got artillery ready to fire. Bebsy, any last words before we move over?
Just join us. All you got to do is click on a different link. Come on over to the other one.
Let's go. Let's go get paid. We'll see you guys over at odds.com right now. And thank you for rolling us over here at YouTube. Jump over. The link is in the chat.